So while I do plan on making a full video talking about Back 4 Blood as a whole, I wanted to make this video to talk about the new expansion that came out, Tunnels of Terror. This features a brand new PvE activity, 2 new cleaners, some weapon and character skins, cards, etc. If you're looking into Tunnels of Terror and expecting it to be a whole new campaign or a new act or two, prepare to be disappointed because that's not what you're going to get. What you end up getting are these levels that are implemented into the main story. As you progress through the main levels, you'll find these hive entrances, which are like these purple glowing holes. Stepping into one of these, you will be teleported into one of these tunnels. I believe there's about like 5 or 6 different types of them. I don't know the exact number, but they all are pretty much the same objective. It's a matter of escaping while having to deal with a bunch of Ridden. But as you're trying to find the way out, you can collect these skull totems, which you can actually use as a melee weapon. You can find up to 3 in these tunnels, and if you have them when you leave, they will be cashed into skull tokens, which you can use to buy cosmetics, weapon skins, and cards that can only be obtained with skull tokens. So the tunnels are pretty much these looping mazes with the objective of escaping. As you're going through, you can find these skull totems, which are highlighted so they're usually not that hard to find, and their locations are quite random, so make sure you're always on the lookout for them. When you pick up a skull totem, it will be in your primary slot, however, it will not replace your primary weapon, so it doesn't actually drop your primary weapon, which is nice. However, doing almost anything in terms of actions will make you drop the skull totems, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. And if you find multiple, you are able to stack them, which will make the totem stronger as a weapon. And let me tell you, the strength on this thing is freaking insane. If you get it all the way up to level 3, you can pretty much one-tap any of the mutations, and you don't even need a melee build for it. It's so broken. Now some of you are probably thinking, okay, I can only get 3 in one run. Well, if you're actually lucky enough, you can find what's called the inner layer, which is a red hole that's found inside the tunnels. This will take you to a whole new area where you can also get an additional 3 skull totems. So if you manage to get all 3 from the tunnels, you manage to find the inner layer, and you get all 3 from the inner layer, you can escape with 6 totems, which will give you 6 skull tokens. Again, that may not seem like much, but honestly the price that you need to pay in order to unlock all this stuff really isn't that much. Most supply lines will cost you between 26 to 28 skull tokens, so it is about 5 to 6 runs, and that is if you manage to get all 6. I will say that the tunnels, in terms of visually and graphically, I do kind of like the aesthetic it's going for, and it is quite creepy and gross. If that's what they were going for, well, they did a good job. My biggest complaint that I have with this is the fact that sleepers are basically everywhere. And, you know, I've played this game for quite some time now, so I am pretty familiar with sleeper locations. And usually when sleepers spawn, they're like on walls or on trucks, or they're in locations that are pretty noticeable. But when the walls are literally flesh, sometimes it's really hard to see them because they do blend in very nicely. And if you are playing solo and you're wanting to get these skull tokens, you're probably going to be holding on to them, so you'll probably get jumped by sleepers a couple of times. This honestly made playing Carly almost essential until I could somewhat figure out the sleeper pattern or where they're most likely going to be located throughout the tunnels. As you're progressing through the tunnels, you'll more than likely find these weapon crates that are white and have these weird logos on them. However, if you choose to open them, you automatically get 10 trauma damage. But you do get a lot of stuff, and you even have a chance of getting a legendary weapon, which is exclusive from these tunnels. You can't find them anywhere in the main levels, and you do have to open one of these chests for it. And if you think there's no way to counter the instant 10 trauma damage, if you actually have any sort of temp health on you, whether it's through cards or just painkillers in general, you will not get any trauma damage. So keep that in mind. I've tried a few of the legendary weapons, and while I do think they're cool, I don't think they're anything too extraordinary. Also, given the fact that you can't put attachments on them, which kind of makes sense because it probably would make them way more overpowered. But honestly, they're fun, but they're not anything too broken, or at least from the time I use them. And if any of you hardcore grinders are wondering if playing on higher levels will get you any more tokens, unfortunately, regardless of what difficulty you're playing, you can only get a max of 6. So I honestly would recommend just breezing through recruit, saving yourself the stress and time. So one of my biggest gripes I actually have with the tunnels, and it's not just the stupid sleeper locations, it's the fact that these tunnels give you so much copper, they give you so many weapons with really good attachments and chances for legendary weapons as well, and you can get this very early in the game. So if you're doing like a veteran or nightmare run, for example, and you do a tunnel and you find a really good weapon, then you have no reason to upgrade any of them through the shop at the beginning of each level. And it's also ironic the fact that they give you so much copper when in the past they've nerfed cards that gave you more copper because they had a vendetta against the copper economy or something. So the fact that they give you like so much copper in these tunnels, it's just mind-blowing. To me, it just doesn't make that much sense. Yeah, it's nice to have all that loot, but at the same time, one of the main things about Back 4 Blood is upgrading your weapons over time as you keep playing through the levels. And the fact that you just get these really good weapons, you get thousands of copper almost instantly, it kind of ruins one of the main purposes in terms of the Back 4 Blood gameplay. Also, these tunnels really don't take that long. I found that most of them take between 15 to 20 minutes, and that is if I do the inner layer, which I will talk a bit more about that as well. If you are lucky enough, you can find these inner layers, which I said are indicated by these red circles. You go down a pretty big slide and you'll land in an arena with a bunch of walls that are blocked, and the way to open it is with explosives. Behind each of these walls, there's a chance of finding one of the 3 totems, also as well as the exit to actually get out of the inner layer, and you can also find enemies of different types. Some rooms will have pretty much one of every special infected in the game, one room will have 2 breakers, and one will have a freaking ogre. So just be prepared for that. But like I said, if you're playing this on Recruit, then they're kind of a pushover, so don't get too stressed by it. And also a secret tip for any of you, if you want to know which walls actually have the totems behind them, if you equip the card Weapon Scavenger, it lets you see through the walls and you can see which ones have the totems in them. So you could just exclusively open those ones and maybe you'll find the exit. You might have to open another wall or 2 for that, but it's just a kind of a little cheat there. There you go. Nice tip of the day for you. So let's talk about the 2 cleaners. We have Sharice and we have Heng. With the release of Sharice, she also introduced armor plates. If you pick up these armor plates, there's going to be a little shield right next to your health bar, which basically means that you get a free hit and take little to no damage. You can literally get grabbed by an ogre and tossed across the map, and you will take no damage from this. That is just disgusting. If you also have Sharice on your team, every member will have this rectangle on their health bar as well. This basically lets you get free temp health that can go over your max health, which basically just gives you more protection. So Sharice is basically just this tanky kind of character, and I will say she is a really good choice for anybody that wants to play an aggressive playstyle, whether it's melee or shotgun. So I think Sharice is a good addition. I do like her a lot. Heng, on the other hand, I can't really say the same. So the thing about Heng is that either he has the ability to highlight things that just really aren't essential, or what he's really good at is just based on chance. So let's talk about what he can highlight. So Heng has the ability to highlight toolkit doors, attachments, and hive entrances. The toolkit doors I think is kind of mid, because if you're new to the game, you're not going to know where toolkit doors can spawn, so having that kind of info can be nice. But if you're someone like me who's played this game for quite some time, you're pretty familiar with toolkit door locations, so this does become quite useless. The weapon attachments I don't really have much to say about, just because, yeah, it can sometimes be useful, but a lot of attachments are found in these small orange crates, which are pretty easy to find. They stand out pretty well. However, I think the one that I think is the most useless is the hive entrances. And the main reason I say that is because hive entrances are so easy to find. These hive entrances are big, they glow, it's really hard to miss them. Whether the level is taking place in the brightest of days or the darkest of nights, these hive entrances are so easy to find. Like, if you're not able to see these hive entrances, you should probably get your eyes checked. And listen, I'm a very blind individual, I can't even look down and see my micro penis, but yet anytime that there's a hive entrance, I can always see it. Being able to highlight them really isn't that necessary. Heng also has the ability to spawn an accessory when he takes damage, which I will admit is pretty useful, but I have two problems with it. First of all, the chances of getting these accessories are extremely small. I believe it's like 1%, and from the time that I've played Heng, I was able to proc this like maybe 5 times total. So it's a very rare thing. I wouldn't make a build centered around it. And additionally, this happens when you take damage. If you're playing on higher difficulties, you do not want to get hit, like at all. So having something that relies on you getting hit, to me, it just doesn't make that much sense. I don't see the point of it. Something like Hoffman, for example, he gets ammo and accessories when he kills Ridden. That is very useful. It basically rewards you for killing Ridden. So why do you have an ability that rewards you for getting hit? I just don't get it. Heng also has the chance to reuse an accessory. So let's say you use painkillers, then there's a chance that you'll just get another one. Again, that's kind of just based on chance. It's not something you can really make a build around. So to me, Heng is kind of a mixed bag. A lot of his stick is just highlighting stuff that I don't think are as useful as like Carly's, for example, but also a lot of it is based on chance. And not to be, you know, a Gen Z or anything, but Heng is kind of mid. I think Sharice is better out of the two. I think they're good characters, they're good additions, but in terms of gameplay, Sharice is a lot better. And yeah, there were new weapon skins and cosmetics and stuff like that, but that's not really anything worthy of talking about in the review. It's just kind of personal preference. If I would say anything, I think the weapon skins are pure garbage. I just think they're bad, and most of them are just copy and pasted on different weapons. So much for creativity, I guess. And the character cosmetics or the outfits, I will say some of them are kind of nice. I do like Evangelos. I do like Mom's. I do like Jim's. Carly's, I like it, but why? Like, I feel like Carly would be the last person to wear something like this. I don't know. And they also added hazmat suits for everybody, so I guess they're just embracing the Among Us meme that died like 2 years ago. Like, guys, just freaking move on from it. Come on. So, in conclusion, how do I feel about this expansion? Do I think this expansion is worth the price? Now, if you already bought the annual pass, then you're just going to get this. So, if you have it, then I guess just play it and come up with your own opinions. But if you're somebody that's holding off and you just want to see if spending $15 is worth it, honestly, I'm kind of 50-50. I think there's some good stuff in here. I think the tunnels are fun for a little bit, but the grinding and plus just the overall repetitiveness in terms of objectives, it does get a bit stale pretty quickly. It was fun for a few hours, but I'm already to the point where I don't really want to go through the tunnels again. If I want to play Back 4 Blood, I'll probably just go through the main campaign again, even though that's also quite stale at the moment. So if you're a big fan of Back 4 Blood, well, first of all, you probably got the annual pass, but if you like Back 4 Blood and you want to try the expansion, I'd say give it a shot, but just don't expect it to be anything too extreme. All right, it's not a Destiny campaign. It's just like a 20-minute extension. Extension? The fuck? Don't expect it to be a Destiny campaign. It's just a 20-minute expansion and another currency to grind. So anyways, that was my review, my honest opinion in regards to Tunnels of Terror in Back 4 Blood. Even though this expansion I don't think was great, I am kind of excited to see what direction Turtle Rock takes with Back 4 Blood. Because right now, I do think it's going in the right direction, but they're taking small baby steps. Whenever the next expansion comes out, you best believe I'll play it and I'll talk about it. But at this point, I think everybody is just wanting a new campaign, a new story. And I don't blame them. I don't blame anybody that wants that, but I'd rather they take their time with it and actually release a good campaign than giving us one that's completely rushed and just overall hurts their reputation even more. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and without further ado, I will see you in the next one. Later.